call the meeting to order at 4:30 on February 5th, 2025. And I just want the record to show that I'm Letitia Smith, and I'm serving in the absence of the chair, Ross Roberts, tonight.
Letitia Smith,
Present.
Ross Rollins, Emmy Sorrells,
Here.
Will Faulkner,
Here.
Marty Heffron, Charles Danbury Jr., Mary Boyd.
Here.
Okay, we have the, can I get someone to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, opening remarks by the chairman. Any persons aggrieved by any decision of the board made within 15 days after such decision appeal to the circuit court having jurisdiction according to section 908.02 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Auburn, Alabama. The board consists of 5 regular members and 2 supernumeraries. The supernumeraries participate in all discussions but only vote when necessary to assure 4 voting members and have a board consisting of 5 members where possible. All decisions are made with a roll call vote, and a concurring vote of 4 members is required to approve all applications for a variance.
We will have a supernumerary voting tonight. Yep.
And we have a supernumerary voting tonight. Thank you.
And then, did you want a motion for the approval of the
Yes,
minutes?
please.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented from the December 4th meeting.
Second?
Letitia Smith,
Yes.
Emmy Sorrells,
Yes.
Will Faulkner,
Yes.
Mary Boyd.
Yes.
We'll get started.
Okay,
with the
we'll get
numbers.
started.
Easy to-
Our new business today is we have BZ 2025-001.
Good evening, board members. For this request, the applicant is seeking a variance of 24.5 feet to the required 100-foot minimum lot width requirement for a road surface use in the comprehensive development district to allow a lot width of 75.5 feet. Specifically, this is a variance request, table 4-3, standards for non-residential uses by district. Listed out all the types of uses found in our ordinance, where highlighted in yellow is road service, and it gives the minimum, maximum FAR, maximum ISR, site area, and lot width requirements. And again, this is a property located in the CDD zone. You can't see here very well, but to the west is Auburn High School. To the south is Church of the Highlands. So it's at the
Okay.
corner of kind of that turn on East Glen.
That is an unusually shaped piece of property, I have noticed.
Yes, so I believe the current configuration, at least it was platted back in 2015, and the most up-to-date subdivision was in 2023.
Okay.
So this configuration is, I guess, about 10 years old. And there's been some new developments on these 2 properties of office, kind of doctor's office type uses, and then there's also offices here as well. And so at the road, it is currently 75.5 feet, and they're seeking to build a road service use in this area. Much of the property is unbuildable due to detention ponds and easements, utility easements on the property. Like I said, the table kind of lists out all the uses allowed, and there are several uses where the lot width is none required or at 75 feet. So staff does not feel that a variance is necessary for reasonable use of the land. I'm not exactly sure. We couldn't find exactly why road service was at 100 feet. We believed it was just too proper spacing of, several road service uses at once, or for, proper level space for auto-centric patterns, ingress, egress, and things like that. Happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, that was actually my question, like, why do we have some with institutional? Like, what's the difference between an institutional and a road service, like service, I guess? Like,
Sure. So in our ordinance, there's several listed road service uses. It could be like a convenience store, it could be a fast food restaurant, it could be ATM drive-through.
anything where you're gonna have coming and going at the same time, roughly, is what we're talking about? So,
Correct,
okay.
correct. Auto-centric, not necessarily, retail focused.
Okay. Yeah, it's curious why there are only two that delineate for agriculture. I suppose that's for tractors and larger things. And then when I read road service, I was just wondering if that was like more to mean like service road that might have like large vehicles like dump trucks and 18-wheelers and things coming through that too. Like, I just don't know the reasoning behind. I didn't understand the reasoning behind why only two delineate 100 feet when the others delineate 75 or none.
Yes, ma'am, I do admit that we definitely didn't necessarily have a concrete reason as to why
Okay.
this was in place prior. But it has been in place prior to 2015 when the lot was created and
Okay.
platted.
Perfect. Is the applicant here or someone representing the applicant? And please make sure you sign the log if you haven't already done so.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am David Slocum. I'm the civil engineer representing the developer. So, yes, my question this afternoon to Justice was the same as yours.
Okay.
What's the reason
reasoning?
for the 100 feet? And what I was getting at is whatever that intent is, does this use still meet that intent or purpose of that? So obviously, we still don't know. Maybe that's something that they could look at. and-
Agriculture, I can sort of parse out maybe why, but I'm sorry to take away from your time, but yes, go
Oh,
ahead.
no problem, no problem. As far as this use goes, we're planning to, we're seeking conditional use approval next week at Planning Commission. And I personally feel like it's a great location for this use. I mean, I think we all know the use groom transportation. They're currently in town and wanting to relocate and have a place where their customers can park their vehicles while they're traveling. We've worked hard to come up with a site plan that works. In a lot of locations, maybe this use would be frowned upon by staff because of the parking. And to me, that's what makes this use desirable, because it is behind two other businesses. It's not, driving down Glen, you're hardly even gonna notice it. There's utilities in place, there's a detention pond already there, there's right and left turn lanes, so the infrastructure is there, which points towards it being a great location for this use. I understand from the staff point of view why they said no hardship. From the city's point of view, there is no hardship because you can just tell this user, go build somewhere else. And I guess that's really what this comes down to, because if they don't get the variance, they will have to just go build somewhere else. But like I said, to the applicant, it is certainly a hardship because they can't build here where they have chosen. They've looked at a lot of properties. This is where they've chosen, have a contract on it. And it's definitely a hardship that can't be changed. In order to change it, they would have to have adjacent property owners sell them property in order to replat, and we can't just force other people to sell property. So I feel the hardship is justified, and it's a great location, and would appreciate your consideration, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
So I do have a question. So just for clarification, you're saying that without this variance, that the applicant will not be able to make this happen, or make it work?
Yeah, because it's considered road service, this is the only way to overcome that obstacle would be to get the variance. So if this fails tonight, then we'll just pull the item off the agenda. There's no reason to move forward on the planning commission meeting next week.
Any other questions?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I do have a question. So, I know you're just the civil, not just the
Just
civil
the civil
engineer. You're
engineer.
the civil engineer, not the architect. But like, do we have any sort of site plan that would show like what the facility and where parking would be? Like how that, could anything be done to adjust the size or any of that to help mitigate? It's really just a road issue. Doesn't have anything to do with,
It does, and we
putting-
did submit a site plan with our conditional use
Okay.
application, so it's on file with,
Okay.
the city staff. has
but we're
submitted.
also hemmed in by, we said detention ponds and easements, correct?
Yeah, so I
easement?
guess like the parking and I guess like majority of the sites not really impacted by. I guess if you could zoom in on like what's the stem of the lot frontage. Yeah, just kind of up there. So that's really
We only have 75 feet, period.
it's a
Like, that's all they
driveway.
have.
Is essentially
Yeah.
kind of what that part is. Like it's an entrance and a driveway. And I guess kind of the.
So when that was platted, this was in place, but we platted it anyway, just like that.
I would say kind of to not be critical of other professionals. I think this is kind of why you should examine subdivision regs and kind of make sure that you're not kind of siphoning off your possibilities. I mean, we've had other people do this in residential areas. There's a recent waiver where I guess just to follow me, the total street frontage that they had was like 260,
Okay.
which the minimum street frontage that they needed for a lot was 50. And so, 260 divided by 50, that's 5 lots. Somehow they subdivided it and they only got 4, and then they needed a waiver. And so that was something that, they just didn't call, they didn't talk about it, and they did it incorrectly. I think this is a similar situation where, if you were trying to sell land, you don't want to preclude who your buyers potentially could be. And by subdividing it and only getting it 75 feet, that's what they did. And so, on this, I think kind of where this comes from is just what the number for 100 would be land use intensity, just kind of associated with road service uses and just kind of what they're next to, and that has to do with like the buffer yards and essentially just kind of being related to performance zoning. But like I said, I think this one is what we're looking at is this is essentially a stem. This is not like the rest of the lot. And so I guess as you see, I mean, it's a really funky shaped lot. A
Yeah.
lot of what they're going for and what they're going to be doing is in, I guess, what would be the flag portion of the lot, since it's kind of a quasi flag lot.
Yeah.
And so where everything is sited isn't really impacted by any of this. This, like I said, this is the stem at the top, and then there's also a turn lane up there too. We talked engineering, not something that's derived from them, but I do think this has to do with buffer yard applications, where they would go, just because we have performance zoning, you can, especially in CDD, there's a number of uses that you can put all over the place within CDD that have to coexist, and they are able to coexist through buffer yards applications. And so, but in this is the stem, and I would say that's probably like the main point. That's the stem. Everything like the office, the parking lot, not going in the stem.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So it's just an in and out sort of situation.
Yes.
Driveway.
Okay. I mean,
Can I just add to what Justice was saying? The definition of road service speaks to the intensity of use and very clearly in the zoning ordinance.
okay. Well, I feel, just my opinion would be that this is not a fast food restaurant. This is not something that's gonna be a highly trafficked area, in my opinion. I mean, I've used groom services before, like, it's not in and out all day long, 24/7, like a gas station or a restaurant or something else would be. So that's why I'm curious as to why they were lumped in with something else that would be.
No, so I guess as by definition, I mean this is a road service use, and I guess that was one of the things that did come up that I guess I don't think we still have solid numbers on what the intensity is going to be, just kind of from what their expectation was. I think that was one of the questions that we didn't get answered in the pre-app of how many cars are going to be coming and going. I mean, they're building 101 parking spaces, but just kind of the daily traffic in and out, kind of what was being expected. That was something that we did ask for, and I think that's something that we'll probably try to get to the bottom of. But from an intensity standpoint of traffic every hour in it, like I said, they weren't able to really kind of even provide us an estimate. It was something that we did ask for in the meeting, and that they said they would get back to us on.
Anything?
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Staff, did we receive any communication on this?
Yes, I believe the one individual I spoke to is here tonight to speak.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You need to open the public hearing.
Open
Yeah,
the public
yeah.
hearing.
Okay. Open this the meeting now for public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Do y'all know exactly where this is? Like, I can't
Behind Shelley Orthodontics.
place this.
Newer Shelley's building.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
It's like I have eye blindness to that because I travel it so much, so I'm like, I can't place exactly where
Yeah,
this is.
yeah. So kind of like Planner Muse stated, it's really kind of a discreet area. Like I said, the majority of it's kind of behind buildings,
Okay.
and then I mean that's really like it's a sharp curve. People are kind of going 45 miles an hour. You wouldn't know it was there, and so it's also kind of the turn lane and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
So.
okay, got it.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Stacy Williams Jordan, and I own the property adjacent where the Berkshire Hathaway office is located. And previously, I owned all of this, so I could probably shed a lot of light on any questions that you guys have about the entire parcel. So I purchased the original piece in 2010, and we platted it at 75 feet with an intention to keep out any road service, high traffic, high density traffic. So that was an intentional request and an intentional platting and recording so that we wouldn't have the road service. Because that's what you guys, like 100 feet, I know they may not need 100 feet, but the city requires that for the road service, so we platted it at actually 75 and a half feet. Then the reason that it's such a funky shaped lot is I replatted this several times and added part of the lot to the back piece of my current office building. But I was nice enough to give the detention pond to whoever purchased from me. So it's not on my property any longer, so that's why it's cut out like that. So I'm not responsible for the detention pond. So there was a lot of foresight that went into planning this, the property the way it is. Based on, I have some notes, sorry.
Okay, take your time.
Okay. To me, this would be a hardship on my business, and there's one curb cut, one driveway that's gonna service now 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 different businesses. We're sandwiched between the high school and Church of the Highlands. That roadway, certain times of the day, is backed up all the way to East University and beyond. All those traffic lights are just clustered. You cannot turn left out of our driveway, and you cannot turn left into our driveway. And Groom Transportation, we know, is known just for shuttling buses and vans, and that's their current business model. Who's to say that they're not gonna change and they're gonna include, I mean, nobody can predict what their business model may be in the future, and they could change that to more local. Instead of going to Atlanta and the airports, Columbus and Montgomery, they could use those shuttle buses for more local shuttling, which would, again, intensify and increase the traffic in and out of that driveway. So it has a negative impact on our business. Customers and clients of every person that the law firm, the real estate office, the mortgage company, everybody that's already in that space, getting in and out of that property. Yep.
I'm sorry. I guess the 3 minutes up. We really should put a bell on it.
I'm sorry?
Oh, your 3 minutes was up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I guess. Did you have anything that you wanted to say just kind of at the end? Just
Well,
like closing
yeah, if you don't
remarks?
mind, I would be, the hardship, as you guys said, it's not really a hardship for them. They could find another, piece of property to conduct the same business. But yeah, unless you have questions, I guess I'll just let it go there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have any questions.
Any questions?
Not right now, no.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll close the public hearing. We'll open it up now for board discussion. Okay, thoughts?
Well, so now I have the information about why the lot is shaped the way it was and what was
Yes.
allowed. And, okay, can you elaborate again on the buffer lanes and the decel, XL lanes?
Yes, and so there's turn lane put in just for I guess the already existing businesses there that accommodate this. But so the lot frontage width and I guess kind of the definitions of all this other stuff. Lot width is measured at the road frontage, and so I guess we have two definitions in it. So it's actual lot width, like from boundary line to boundary line, but then also what's measured, which is just the road frontage. And so the buffer yards, like I said, within performance zoning means that a multitude of different uses can go right next to each other. So kind of like around the corner from here, used to live over there, Andrews Court, single family housing. Right next to it is Young's Plant Farm, and then there's another house in front of it, and then right down the street from that is like office and a kind of like a warehouse.
Right.
All zone the exact same thing. The only thing that kind of keeps them separated is the buffer yards. And so buffer yards are determined by the land use intensity. And so road use services normally are the most intense use just from the level of traffic that you're going to be having. So whether that be a drive-through, like a fast food drive-through where you're just kind of like Seven Brew, just kind of pumping out cars all day,
Right.
or something kind of like Groom where, and I guess kind of to the point of like what their business model is, just kind of like the lady just said, this kind of unprecedented for Groom. They've done this in other locations, but this current operation that they're doing, that they're moving to, now they're going to be offering the ability for people to park there. And so that was one of the big sticking points, just kind of in the conditional use. And that's not germane to this discussion. That's something for the planning commission to
Right,
kind of
right.
weigh out. But that was one of the big things that we wanted to know, just kind of, well, how many people do you expect to be moving every day? How many people do you expect to be parking? Where are you going to park your buses? Kind of all these other things. And so there's conditions about where they will and won't be maintaining stuff. And like I said, those are things that are relevant for the planning commission, and not for this meeting. But the lot frontage, road width, and all that has to do with buffer yards being necessary for performance zoning to be executed properly, just kind of in theory.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from?
I have comments, not questions.
Okay, comments.
I see lots of good with Groom being here overall, but I also see lots of issues with land use, with proposals, with things that are going to have to change for this to happen. That being said, since there are other media uses for the land, I don't know if this is the best use for the land overall.
Yeah.
But that being there would be a positive thing for Groom, so I see why they want it there.
Listen, I use Groom. It annoys me to no end that I have to wait on my husband to pick me up and drop me off. That is a personal problem, though. So, unfortunately, our hands are tied as BZA. We don't make the rules.
Right.
I would really like to see planning or this powers that be maybe look at this road service and agricultural support and why they're the only two. Again, like I said, I could parse out agricultural support. The road service is a little confusing for me. The other things that are there, I'm assuming everybody else has that 100 feet. Like the Shelley has that.
No, so
Ms.
yeah, so
Jordan's
those
doing
would be so those aren't road service uses.
It's different business uses,
They're
Right,
just
yeah,
regular,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
but they have
just
75.
75 feet,
They have
yeah.
75.
Right, and so kind of what I was getting at is just kind of
They're
like
commercial
the
support, basically.
right, and so kind of what I was getting at for different uses, there are different land use intensities. And so something like Young's Plant Farm, even though it's right next to abutting single-family houses, there's a massive buffer in between those houses and Young's Plant Farm. And so if it's if it's a similar use, then the buffer doesn't have to be as great. But if where the use intensity is great, then the buffer obviously has to accommodate that, whether that be like 20 feet. And I mean, in some areas, like in some of the industrial areas, I guess this isn't by code, but there's a 200-foot buffer from single-family houses to industrial uses in town. And so that's kind of how performance zoning works.
So I don't think it's under our purview, but I could also understand why groom would not fall under commercial support. Like, why are they being classified as road service? Like that's my question.
Yeah, and I think kind of, once again, a lot of the
Have you ever been to an orthodontist appointment? Like, if Shelley is commercial support, have you ever been to an orthodontist? Like, that is an in and out all day.
Yeah. In and out all day. I guess kind of the thing here, as I think kind of remains to be determined, just how many customers they're expecting every day, and then kind of those people parking, and then kind of
don't
the
know that. It's-
size of the vans that they're also going to be using. Like if there's going to be different sizes in the shuttles, et cetera, kind of coming and going. Because the main use here, even though it's like an office like that kind of supports this, where their staff's going to be, it's essentially a parking lot.
It's a parking lot.
And then also kind of they want fence for protection, kind of all the things. There'll be a gate. And so there's a lot of things just kind of happening with this that not, like I said, not out of place for the area, but just different intensity from, just a standard kind of office use where they're it's like maybe just like professional studio, professional offices, things like that. This is people kind of coming and going, patrons kind of loading up, being out, a lot more transient. I guess not a lot more transient than the other ones, because I guess, some other ones where there are offices, but I guess, like you said, the orthodontist.
I mean, I can imagine
People
that
have
it's
appointments.
seasonal. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on what the use of a business may or may not become in the future, though. Like, I mean, they could change their business models to have less density, honestly, as much as more density. So I'm not inclined to make a decision on a supposition of what a business may or may not do in the future. So, having said all that,
Stacy shedding the light on platting this to prevent this from happening,
yeah.
to me is pretty clear that,
It was this way
forethought.
intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a forethought. It was
Yeah.
intentional.
and there are places that are large enough that this would work.
Right.
As is, yeah.
So can I get a motion from someone?
I'll put a motion to decline the motion, decline the.
But I think we said not to do it. We said to,
Oh, we said only to do affirmations, right?
yes, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. So I have a motion to either.
All right, so
Sorry, I'm-
point of clarity,
it's
point of
long-
clarity.
Long
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. So you can motion to approve something. You do not have to vote for that motion.
Okay.
Correct, Stephen?
Yes, you'd be able to make a motion, but then vote no on it.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I have a motion to approve the variance as stated.
I'll second it.
Letitia Smith,
Reject. Is that right? Did I do it right? Okay.
All right, yeah, so Letitia's voting no.
Amy Sorrells,
Unfortunately, no.
Will Faulkner,
No.
Mary Boyd. It wasn't approved.
All right.
Okay. So we did not accept BZ 2025-001. And there is no other, is there any other business for tonight?
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
do you have a question?
I do. Do we have a schedule? I'm assuming we're still first Wednesday if we have things. or
Yes,
Is there
all
any
right.
time we need to change that?
Yeah,
like
so
in
two
July?
things for housekeeping. So the schedule hasn't changed. It'll always be first Wednesday, 4:30, unless we kind of have extenuating circumstances or something. But I think we'll stick with first Wednesday, 4:30. Just kind of on the elections. So even though we're kind of thank you all for coming tonight. The council did vote to uphold the applications of everyone who applied. So Marty maintains his position on the BZA, and then Mary maintains her position as a supernumerary, just kind of carrying out for those terms for the next 3 years. So that was also decided. And then just kind of an announcement. This is actually Connor Muse's last BZA meeting.
Dropping like flies.
Yeah, I know.
People
I
are
know.
snatching our good planners away. That's what's
I
happening.
know, man. I look at him. He's so sharp.
I
So
know. You
so
dressed up for us for your last meeting.
so
Connor,
so-
where are you going?
I got a position back at my hometown in the planning department, so I'll be working
You're
back there.
moving.
Well, good luck to you and thank you for
Yes.
your service over the years.
Thank you. Yep, it was a pleasure.
I know he was like our BCA specialist.
I know.
But yeah, so that's all that we have. I think from a housekeeping standpoint, I don't think there's need for any trainings or anything kind of coming up. I think we had a sufficient amount of those. So that's all I got.
Okay, well,
Motion to adjourn from somebody.
Motion to adjourn.
all right, meeting is adjourned at 5 o'clock.
Housekeeping. So that's all I got.